Alright, here we are with the next in our series of redstone tutorials. This is going to be a series of videos that goes over very simple farms. So there's some general ideas that we need to put together before we're able to start on this farm. The first is, what do each of the individual components do? So the components are going to consist of, and this is not the entire thing built, this is just the major structure, a piston, an observer, a dispenser, and of course sugarcane, and then a collection system. So, first off, what is a dispenser? A dispenser and a dropper look very similar. The dispenser, or the dropper rather, looks happy. The dispenser looks surprised. And when you push the button on the back to activate them, it shoots it out. As opposed to having sand in this one, this is the dropper. Wow, it just drops it. So, with a dropper will always drop whatever is in it. It doesn't have any force behind it. A dispenser, on the other hand, because of the force, can actually deploy an object for its intended purpose. So, if I have a sugarcane in front of these two, and I hit the dropper, well, nothing happens. The bone meal pops out, nothing happens to the sugarcane. The dispenser, on the other hand, will dispense the bone meal and will make the sugarcane grow. And you can keep hitting this button all you want, it's not going to do anything more than dispense that first sugarcane, not until this is broken and it's something for it to do again. Now, as an interesting side note, dispensers can also be used to deploy other objects. One of the most interesting is, it's called a shulker box, which you may or may not have encountered before. They have to be acquired in the end from killing the conveniently named shulkers and then using their charred husks to turn normal chests into shulker boxes. The cool thing about shulker boxes is that whatever you put in them, when you pick it up and take it with you, the stuff stays in it, so it's like an inventory expansion. Now, if you put a shulker box into a dispenser and dispense it, whoop, it comes out as a whole shulker box, which is not the case for, let's say, a chest. If you do this as a chest, it comes out as an entity. So, just an interesting side note. Now, the next components we need to look at, we've already discussed a little bit previously, which are the hoppers and chests. So if I have a chest, right there, and I take a hopper going into it, right. This hopper I can directly put stuff into. I could put a chest on top of it and put stuff into that to go through. Or I can also do this. I can take an item and I can throw it in there. And if I'm standing in the right place, it'll get pulled in. Unfortunately, you have to be standing in exactly the right place or you look like an idiot and the thing that you're trying to do doesn't work. Then you come over here and you can see that these are in this. Unfortunately, if we were to block this by putting a block on top of it, it doesn't matter where we stand. I get to look like an idiot all day long, which is not hard for me. They're not going to go in. I come around here, well, nothing. So how do we get over this? The wonderful hopper minecart, or minecart with hopper. So, in order to use a hopper with minecart, you need first a rail, and then you need a hopper with minecart, which you make with a hopper and a minecart. Now, this system, I can put something over the top of, effectively blocking this off. And now, I can stand here and throw my blocks, and they get sucked right down into the chest. Assuming I don't throw them over. There we go. And then, we go around to the chest, and there they are. I can also use this in a slightly different manner. I can put a block here, connect a railroad right there. I want to put a second block back here to stop this from going too far. Now, if I put my hopper minecart there and give it a little push, whoop, it goes inside the block that I want to collect things from. Now, wrong button, they go into the hopper minecart. And then you could have your collection hopper below that. So this will also work if this minecart were to be going back and forth. So you could have many things up here that you want to collect, put this on a railway, back and forth, and as it moves, it will collect everything. So this is a convenient way to collect things from below a block. Onto our system. Sugarcane has some specific conditions that are needed to grow. First, it has to be adjacent to a block of water. So, I put my water here. Now, I can grow the sugarcane. If I try to do it here, it won't let me put it down. So what we're going to start with is we're going to raise this whole thing up so that we have room to move, to work under it. This height is arbitrary. I just want to make sure that I have room under it to put the collection system. And since I can fly, I can easily make enough room for the collection system. Okay, so somewhere down here, aha, I got lucky. I'm going to go ahead and put my source block of water, and then I'm going to change this out for dirt so that I can place my sugarcane. Now, as we talked about, I'm going to put a dispenser, and for now, I'm just going to put a button on this dispenser, which I'm going to have to do from down here because I have to crouch while I do it. And that's going to let us manually activate the dispensing of the bone meal for now until we work on how to build a clock to automate it. Okay, so the next step is we need something to break this every time we want to collect it. So over here, one up because I don't want to break the bottom. Now I can't have this be the one that gets hit because I need this to stay as the source block to get hit with the bone meal so that it'll grow. So I need to go up one, and then I'm going to throw a piston. And what this piston is going to do once we hook it up is every time this grows, this is going to extend and break it so that we can collect it. On top of the piston, we're going to put an observer. And what an observer does is it detects changes in the state of the block in front of it. And you can look up more definitive definitions or instructions on what all an observer can and can't detect. But for now, it's good to know that it detects the full change in a block in front of it. So if I stick a piece of redstone here, this observer is going to hard power this block, which then will power this redstone and will activate this torch. And anything that changes the block in front of it will result in that piston being powered. I might have called it a torch a second ago. If I did, I'm a moron. So now the basic unit is assembled. We will push our button to grow our sugarcane, and the piston says, no you don't, and it breaks it. Now this is great if you want a machine that just throws sugarcane all around, but this doesn't really do us much good for actually collecting it. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that this stuff can't get all over the place. So we're going to put blocks all around to ensure that our wayward sugarcane doesn't fly off into the night and leave us all alone and sugarcaneless. I'm not sure if sugarcaneless is a word, but it is now. We're going to close up the top too. May not be the nicest looking thing in the world, but as you can see from the sound, it's still working. So now, down here, we have our block. We know that this is the block where the sugarcane is, and now only one of two blocks where it can go, because it can either fall into the water or it can go there. So, how are we going to collect this? Well, that system that we just made, in which a minecart hopper can collect objects from the block above it, is now going to come in handy. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a box, or a chest, if we want to use the actual Minecrafty terms, and we're going to put a hopper going into that chest. On top of that hopper, we're going to do nothing because I don't fit. Get something to stand on. I'm very professional. Never you mind. Jump, jump. Okay. Now we're going to put a railroad track and a hopper with minecart. Doop, doop. Let's go ahead and test the simple version of this now. So, we're going up, and we're going to push our button a few times. We hear the machine activating. We assume that things are happening. We assume that the sugarcane is growing and that the bone meal or the piston is breaking it. Now, let's find out if we've collected it. There it is, 13 sugarcane in our chest. Now, this is great if you want to just stand around and collect sugarcane all day and your underwear having nothing else to do. However, buttons are for the Middle Ages. We need this thing to be automatic. So, I'm going to extend this platform because I have no ability to plan for the future and have figured this out already. And we're going to make a very simple clock. So a clock is something that is going to produce a redstone pulse at an interval that we decide. So we're going to take some kind of block, and it has to be just a block that can conduct redstone power. We're going to need a redstone torch. We're going to need a redstone repeater, redstone dust, and the last thing will be a lever, because we don't want this thing just going off all night and day and keeping the neighbors awake and getting us a bunch of angry phone calls. So, we'll place our redstone torch on the side of this block. And remember, what that does is it doesn't power the block, it powers the block next to it, or in this case, the block one out, or it can power this block right here. From there, we are going to put a repeater, because what I want is for this power to flow one direction. I don't want it to be able to go either direction. I'll show you what happens without the repeater in a second. Another bit of redstone dust to create a circuit. Now, because I have one-way flow through this, I create a pulse. If I increase the repeat length, or the delay length, excuse me, on delay time on this repeater, I can make my pulse slower. Now, as I said before, if I were to just connect this with redstone dust, it's going to flash like crazy and then burn out. This is the effective equivalent of a short circuit. So we need this, what is acting as a diode, which only allows the electricity to go one way through. And the reason we have a lever is to put it on the side. I can now turn this off by hard powering this block, which turns on this redstone, which turns off this, and therefore this doesn't get powered and there's no repeating signal. So I can now fall off the thing. I can now turn my system on and turn it off. Then it's a simple matter of connecting up my dispenser. Let me make sure there's still bone meal in there. And we turn this thing on, and we can hear it. And we come down, and glorious day, we are cranking out sugarcane until our dispenser runs out of bone meal, in which case it makes this annoying clicking noise. So there you have it. This is the simplest one block design that is possible, that I know of anyway, for a sugarcane farm. This can be expanded simply by adding more pistons and more water and blocks of sugarcane next to this. So we'll see if I can add another one here next to it. We're gonna come down. Come here. And I don't think that I can put a sugarcane directly here, but I'm gonna try. Nope, no dice. So I'm gonna have to come down here, put another block here to catch the water. Now I can pull that. We've got our new sugarcane here. So the next thing we're going to do is put our dispenser up, or excuse me, our piston up. So we're going to put a block, put a piston, get rid of that block, and now all we have to do is connect here for demonstration. Now we need to put another dispenser, and we need to connect the dispenser up which, womp womp, won't work because we've created a short circuit. So we need to replace these with repeaters so that the current only goes one way. Now we'll steal some of the bone meal out of here. And we'll put it in here. And we'll pick up our precious redstone dust. So now we have another piston, another spot of sugarcane, another dispenser. When we come over and turn it on, keep in mind I have not closed up the side, so it's probably going to be a sugarcane flinging mess. We turn it on, and we see that we now have 2 stacks that are dutifully going and being harvested. And we ran out pretty quick. Now you'll notice that we didn't really collect a lot of it. Part of that is because I didn't close it up. Part of that is also because this can only collect from the block directly above it. So there are 2 ways to deal with this. One, you could put a bunch of hoppers with an individual minecart hopper on top of each one, or we could do something a little less stupid. So to do something a little less stupid, what we're going to do is put a box here, or excuse me, a chest, and we're going to put a hopper going into the chest. And then we're going to put a couple hoppers on the side going into that central hopper. Now, we need to build up some blocks above it, just because we're going to need them here in a minute for demonstration. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put a block on the side of each of these. And this block is going to act as the stopper for our minecart. We're going to need our regular rail. And we're also going to need some powered rail, which is rail that can be turned on and powered with redstone. So we take a powered rail, and then we take rail, 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 not there, rail, and then a powered rail. In order to power this rail, there's many different ways we can do it. What I'm going to do is plop a block there, and plop a block here, and put a redstone torch on top of it that will power the adjacent blocks, hopefully without locking this hopper, and it did not, so that's good. And now I'm going to put a hopper with minecart on the top and give it a little push. And it's now going to bounce back and forth between these 2 sides. So now, up here, anywhere along this track, I can throw something, and when the hopper with minecart passes under that block, it'll pick it up. And you can see they're all down here. So this is a much more economical way to have objects, or entities rather, which are being dispensed or broken or whatever, that need to be collected from a long swath of area, rather than having 5 of these on top of each hopper. That would be ridiculous and would take a lot of iron. Alright, I hope this was useful, and we'll have a new video coming up shortly with your next automated farm. Thanks.